Chris, welcome back again to Malwood, and clearly in this episode of Vissensa Talks, I think what we want to do is to understand the steps that organisations can take to get themselves into the right position when we're talking about credit control and debt management, and lean on your wealth and expertise in terms of that area.
Well, thank you, Steve. You know, lockdown or no lockdown, I think the top 10 rules still apply. There's one or two that we need to look at differently right now, but basically they are all the same. And the first thing that you need to do within your organisation is to credit check. Credit check all new and existing customers. This is sometimes a snapshot which goes back some time, but it's essential.
Your credit checking is obviously something that you're advocating there, Chris, but small organisations, they sometimes can't afford those big brand names. What's your advice there for those people?
There are a lot of different organisations that can offer credit checking, and some are very reasonably priced and right for your budget. So you don't have to buy the most expensive, but you can still get the right information. It's just essential to keep tabs on your customers, new and existing. Likewise, one of the vital things that we need to do is to make sure that you get it right first time. In other words, get that invoice correct. When you send that invoice, it's the easiest excuse in the world to say, this invoice is incorrect, it hasn't got the correct purchase order number or whatever on it. And then that can lead to another 30 days delay whilst the invoice has another 30 days on it, or whatever the terms are.
Yeah.
So get it right first time, absolutely essential. And thirdly, make sure that you proactively credit control. By that I mean, there's nothing wrong with you contacting your customer before the debt is due to ensure that payment is on track and there's no problems. You don't want to know that once the invoice is overdue. And by the way, email just isn't a proactive approach. You need to have that conversation. You need to have that human touch.
It's that personal approach again, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is absolutely vital.
And I suppose the other thing the other point you're making there is timeliness, isn't it? Is that, as you say, is that if you'll have an invoice that's now overdue, then actually the perception by the customer has changed from you being interested to now being interested the other way round.
Indeed.
And so that the perspective changes and your language has to change, I'm sure, at that point.
It has to change, it has to be different. But remember that humanity touch and everything else about communication is so key to getting paid right now.
Yeah.
It really is. And what we need to be is supportive of our customers. You know, this for me is what we've talked about, the tolerance bit. Be mindful that the old arbitrary ways of putting a customer on stop and not allowing them stock could be very, very expensive for your business and their business. Yes, you've got to get the balance right. Don't exceed on either side, otherwise you put yourself at risk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you put their business at risk as well.
Yeah, that's not going to, and I think we said in the last episode is that this tolerance that you're talking about is part of that new that we're in. People have to rethink how they do business, because shutting it down is actually going to just stunt what we all know is going to be quite a difficult journey out of COVID. And we've got to try and open those floodgates as much as we can rather than keep them restrictive.
Again, we've got to help each other, and by restricting, albeit sensibly, we will enable businesses to continue to trade in what is a very difficult time. And you know, the fifth thing I'd like to say is communication is so important. You need to have very open and honest conversations with all your customers and suppliers so that you know exactly where you're going with them and where they're going as well. You know, things are changing very quickly right now, and that support, that conversation is more important than ever. Absolutely. The sixth thing I'd like to say is, you know, act quickly, keep on top of things. Cash can be buoyant on one day and then gone by the end of the week. So make sure you know what's going on at your customers right now.
How do you, I mean, completely get that, and I think that's something that's been accelerated in this time. What's your thoughts, Chris, on how do you chaperone the customer to understand that you recognise that? You know, what you don't want to have is a sort of Dear John conversation, which is, I'm sorry I paid that other supplier. How do you manage that piece of the journey, Chris? I completely get why you do it, but how do you do it?
How do we manage it? I think key to it is really speaking, obviously, firstly to the right person within the organisation. Get the most senior person that deals with this particular aspect of the business. If it's paying the invoices, let's say the financial director.
Yeah.
And having a very frank and open discussion. And that then can open up the doors.
Yeah.
By leaving it, and that's why we need to act fast.
Yeah.
By leaving it, you effectively can be in that Dear John situation.
Yeah, you open yourself up to the problem.
So don't leave it. Don't be an ostrich. Let's talk to the most senior people within those organisations and make sure they're fully aware. And you never know, they may well exchange similar information with you.
Put both sides of the story so that they understand why you need to do it and what the downstream problems that you'll have if they don't stick to their commitments. Again,
Indeed.
It's that people are talking to people thing again, isn't it?
It's what it's all about, the human touch. So right now, with lots of businesses working from home, I would say it's really important that your business and every business has the right expertise so that people know what they're doing.
You see that quite a lot. You know, we were giving free advice from the very beginning as Vissensa was an organisation to people that had to react to working from home, from a security perspective, from a collaboration perspective. And I think you're absolutely right what you're saying, Chris, is that one of the things there is that it's quite difficult to do the right thing.
Yep.
And have the right information if that information's not available. And perhaps one of the things there is not so much just the email or the Zoom meetings, but actually a lot of organisations have had to rethink the way that remote workers can get at what is, from a financial perspective, let's face it, that's pretty significant information. It has to be secured properly, the right people have access to it. And you know, there are lots of organisations out there that haven't quite got that right yet. So you're right, I think having people who are now working remote, who are expected to provide that support and help from a credit perspective, if they don't have the right information and can't get at it, they're sort of in the dark, aren't they?
Absolutely. So all organisations need to think people, systems and challenges right now.
Yeah, good advice. So Chris, a difficult question I want to ask you now is obviously when all of the process and all of the planning has gone wrong, and you actually start to have the difficult conversations, do you take the Rottweilers round? I'm not quite sure whether you've got any of those, but what does the stance look like, and how does it play out from there?
I have got a Doberman.
Okay.
I have got a Greyhound. Neither of them normally go on customer visits.
Okay.
But I think the key here is if you're in that scenario, you do need to act fast. You need to be on top of your game. Lots of businesses are facing cash flow problems, and if you find that you are in that position where you are not being paid something and you've tried everything else, or they've broken agreements, then you need to make sure you're on top of it to mitigate your financial loss.
And at this point, you getting involved is something that people can turn to. Where do you start that journey with them? What do What do you do at the point that somebody is using your service and they're already in a situation where they've got customers that are not paying? And what does that look like, Chris?
Well, it's a very wide scope here. We're looking at helping the customer, and in effect, I've actually ended up helping their customers
Indeed.
pay them. So it goes right around in a big circle. And I had a client a couple of weeks ago that hadn't been paid, and it was precisely because this one customer hadn't paid them. So I helped their customer get paid and enabled that payment to come through all the organisations, which was really wonderful. It doesn't always work, let's be honest, but it does. It's great to have that sort of effect. The key is speak to the right people within those organisations. Make sure that you get to the right level of seniority. Unfortunately, you may not get there if you just go through to the normal accounts department. So you need to find names, you need to find numbers, and get that contact and maintain that relationship.
Brilliant. Listen, Chris, we've got to wrap this up now, but really what I'm hearing here is that, you know, debt management is all about having positive conversations, and what you've actually shown us today is it's right through the entire structure. So as you say, you've talked to people where you're actually talking to their clients to fix the problem, and actually almost joining the chain all up, so that this thing can actually operate in the way that we've expected it to operate before, and we want it to operate in the future. But there will be tweaks in that, which is allowing us to take that forward. So it's been really enlightening to actually understand how that mindset works, and the things that we really need to do to enable us to all to continue to do business and trust each other and move forward out of the crisis that we've seen ourselves in. So again, absolutely wonderful to have you here, and thank you very much for your knowledge.
Absolute key to this, Steve, is helping each other. And if all else fails, you can get help. I can help businesses, and I've helped many businesses over the last 2 months become reunited with the money that they're owed. But the key is keep those conversations going, keep in contact with your customers and your suppliers. It's absolutely paramount. So what I'd say is strategize, be prepared, take action, and most importantly, be tolerant.
Brilliant advice. Thanks, Chris. Great to meet you.
Thank you, Steve. It's been a pleasure to be here.